They invested in the electric company because they knew that people needed to have a better way to see at night than a candle. They invested in all of these things, a telephone system, because it was better for people to be able to call on a line than having to go tick, 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 tick. Telegraph the problems and makes life easier. You can invest in things that will save our planet. You will invest in things that will solve an AI issue, that improves whatever it is. Use your imagination. If you think there's a problem that needs to be solved, odds are there's an entrepreneur out there trying to solve it. It just needs your money. I love this stuff, and it's so exciting. And I just really, really, really want people to know that they have the ability to do it and how to do it right. Okay, so let's get back on track, Karen. All right, so this went on forever and ever and ever, and that's created this lack of awareness right now. And the U.S. Treasury, the SEC says the reason why we don't have enough money for all the entrepreneurs that need money out there is because of this false thing that they've created that made this thing a secret, right? And also made it perceived to be super risky. So it's not. It doesn't need to be a secret, and it's not risky if you know how to do it. So where do you find the deals? All right. So where do you find them? There's, depending on the platform, the type of thing, there's SEC registered platforms that are legit, regulated, and open to the public. WeFunder, Republic, Honeycomb, Credit. That's a company that I work directly with. Start Engine. I already use those. They all are Reg CF platforms. Some of them, like Republic, have multiple. You can get Reg CF, you can get Reg A Plus on there. Interstate exemption, on the other hand, is kind of harder because there's not a lot of platforms that carry those. It's more word of mouth. It's through your chamber, through your business chamber, your Rotary, your church, word of mouth from people that they can reach out to you and say that they're raising capital. You might see them at an event or hear about it. And, as about 2/3 of the states have interstate exemption laws in place. Some of them have different kind of rules, so you have to look. That's I'm working within my local community to try to create awareness of these organizations and the state and the legislature to promote these companies that are doing interstate exemption, so more people know about it and more people can invest in them. Okay, so that's where you find them. That's how you find them. You have to do Reg CF. I go into this in much more detail in the ebook. Reg CF has criteria because it's regulated by FINRA, and Reg A Plus has conditions through the SEC. But you're still responsible for your own due diligence, your own verification. None of those platforms are responsible for you making a bad investment decision. Okay, so you just need to know that, right? Don't know where to start. I made a guide that you exactly where to find legitimate deals and avoid the scams. And that's in the Compassionate Academy. The link is check the notes for the link. And for those that sign up before it launches in June, you'll get 25% off on your first courses in there. Okay, so want to invest in your coffee shop down the street? Here's a great example. A coffee shop down the street that you love and go to wants to open up a location in another town that's 15 miles away. It's very hard for something like that to get money from a bank to go and do that, or to save up enough money to go do that. But they can tap their customers, investors, to invest in them for a share of their revenue until they pay back like double their money. Might take 2 years or 3 years, but they get double the money. So if you put $1,000 in, you get $2,000 in or $3,000 back, right? And you get to be the person. You might get some free cups of coffee as well, right? So those are a great way to invest locally for businesses that you love. So you pay attention now that you're aware. I've been advising companies to do this that I mentor through various incubators and accelerators, and it's just it's still such a new concept, even though it's been around for a decade. And then you have global problems, things that you really are passionate about. You go find them on the platforms. Who can invest? This is it gets really exciting. I've already talked a lot about the exemptions and the secrecy, but let's talk a little bit more. So before 2012, again, remember, only rich people could invest in early stage companies. That was the top 2%, accredited, sufficient income and net worth before the 19th. But here's the thing, the reason why we have the wealth gap and the reason why this is so important for women and people of color and millennials and Gen Z. So for many, many people, many people in those demographics that I just described, were not able to buy a home, get a loan for a business until the 1970s. There were laws restricting it, and I have the whole table and timeline in the ebook, but they were not. It was Supreme Court decisions and then legislative actions by the government that enabled people of color to be able to get loans in their own name without discrimination of race, and women to be able to get a loan in their own name, even a credit card, without having a male cosign for them. Brother, son, husband, uncle, father, whatever, had to sign for them, right? Right. Millennials, they don't really even, because they've never had that issue. But for some of us in the Gen Z category, we were just coming of age to be able to buy a house and buy this stuff after that time. So it's only really one generation that has been able to like purchase and build up a lot of the assets that were used to create the middle class in the 1930s, 40s, and 50s, that then got passed down to a generation that could build upon that. They had a house that they could sell and take the money for, or they could move into without having to buy a house, right? They had elements of things that created wealth. Even if they were just middle class back then, because that was when the middle class built. So there's a wealth gap. When you compound that stuff decade after decade after decade, you get a wealth gap. And that's what we have right now. And there's lots of stats. It's in my real book, right? I have lots of stats. And if you follow me on stuff, you'll get all those stats. But this is why this is important for people to understand, and why I'm targeting those segments, because they don't necessarily know. They just know they don't have what they want. They're concerned about the future for their children, whether it's saving the planet or building up something that they can leave their children. So that is why that is so important for you to understand who can invest, because anybody can invest. And the other big benefit on the who is that you can notoriously, it changed a little bit in 2020, but it still lags behind. Out of all the angel capital, so this is the big money, okay? Mostly for tech startups, less than 3%. It's about 2.5%, 3%. It was less than 1% went to Black and brown businesses up until 2020. Then, it's inched up a little bit since then. Of women-owned businesses, but prior to 2020, it was about 5% of women-owned businesses got angel capital and VC money. So that kind of do the math on the rest of the world. But now it's at like 7 to 9% because there's more women angel investors. And so, that also means that those businesses aren't growing, that also create the generational wealth. So it is a challenge for startups that have somebody that has a great idea to get the money, if they're not from a community that's already wealthy, to get the money, the $50,000, $100,000 that they need to be able to get the money from angel investors to create a prototype of their product, so those angel investors will invest. Angel investors don't invest in ideas, right? I mean, not to say the crowdfunding people should, but you're investing smaller amounts. You're investing in somebody that's from your community. You're investing in, businesses that and founders that you want to invest in, to give them a step up, give them a hand up, not a handout, because to be sure, crowdfunding is not a charity. It is an investment strategy to create wealth for you and the businesses that you're investing in. They get to achieve, they work really, really, you put your money to work, working for these entrepreneurs that are working harder than anybody to achieve their own dreams. They're building a business, they're building a future, and they put the effort in. You, along with 1,000 other people, put the money in. And then together, your money, their effort, they build a business that creates prosperity in the community, for their employees, and for you as an investor. Okay, so that's who. So who gets to build the wealth? You get to build the wealth. Crowdfunding investing lets women, minorities, and millennials back businesses and own a piece of their success. And you learn more and more about that in the ebook. Get the 4 W's of crowdfunding investing today. And then when my book comes out, the inside secrets to crowdfunding investing and the training, the Compassionate List Academy. Those are your 3 stepping stones.